Let me just pull up the live stream real quick. It threw me off my game. My computer froze. All right. Yeah, it looks like we're live. All right. Sorry. uh, all right. I'm sure we'll get some people back in here. Where were we? We were talking about the offensive line
Yeah, yeah.
and Becton and all that. Yeah, look, if we could figure out if we have Becton, if we have McGovern, if Fant can be the right tackle, and you're just figuring out those guard spots, I'd love to see Tooney drop free from the Patriots. I don't think it's going to happen. They have a bunch of cap space. I don't think they'll want to lose him. Someone like Sheriff, is there someone that you're particularly looking at in free agency, or are you looking, maybe towards the draft to solve the guard problem?
Yeah, I mean the two guys you mentioned it's not a deep market. You have those two guys at the top who are, they're both top 5 to 10 guards at their specific spot, probably top five in terms of Tooney at left guard and Sheriff at right guard. So if one of those guys shakes free, I think that's definitely where they got to look first to spend a lot of money on a premium free agent. Right up there with, receiver, edge rusher, but right there because like you said, if we can get McGovern, Fant, Becton, you have three pieces already. If you could add one more big piece in one of those two guys, then you're getting close to building a full unit and really solidifying, half of your offense, which is what the offensive line is. So I would definitely look, if one of those guys shakes free, they have to be at the front of the bidding. And I think they will be. I feel like they probably were planning to do that with Tooney this offseason. Then New England put the tag on him. And obviously Washington did the same. So I definitely would go after those two guys. But beyond them, there aren't a ton of options in terms of actual quality guards. On the free agent market, there are a couple tackles, Taylor Moton from Carolina, Darrell Williams from Buffalo, if they do want to move on from Fant, try to maybe upgrade at right tackle. But in terms of guards, I think those are the two guys that you're looking at.
Yeah, for me, I would love to see the stability of that interior offensive line. Um, I don't know. I have you seen anything about the big tackle from Minnesota, Daniel? I don't know how to pronounce it, Daniel Falele or whatever. He's like 6'9", 400 pounds. Could be entering the draft this year. So there's like a little part of me that's like, oh man, how cool would it be to have Becton on one side and this guy on the other? Now I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
where he's supposed to even go in the draft. It might be like, maybe he's a fifth round pick or something like that. Who knows? I'm hoping that Joe Douglas can just start hitting on a bunch of these, key positions. And I guess we'll talk a little bit more about the defensive side of the ball and Quinnen Williams. What have you seen out of him this year, and what have you thought about the growth over the course of this season?
It's just been fantastic. And I think you do have to kind of look back. He had the ankle injury in the preseason last year. And, he's improved a lot, and he was raw coming in, only started for the one full year at Alabama. So you expected he could be that guy who would take some time to, actually hit his ceiling. And it seems like that's playing out. But, that injury probably affected him last year because he's been just completely different this year. He looks like the guy they thought they were getting. Just, we know what he has in terms of raw power, but the technique was what put him that's what made him the number 3 pick in terms of having pass rush moves, being able to being able to win in a lot of different ways as a pass rusher. And that's what he's doing now. The run defense, he's elevated to top 5 level. Pass rush is slowly climbing up there for the past few games. So in terms of what he's produced this season, the stops in the run game, the pressures as a pass rusher, he's been a top 5 player this season, and he's only climbing because he's been playing his best football the past 3 games. 7 pressures against the Chargers and the Dolphins, 6 in this game against the Raiders. So he's just getting better and better, and he's not just improved. He's going to be right up there as one of the top 3 to 5 defensive tackles in the league this year. He's only getting better week by week. So it's been so impressive to see, and the Jets really needed it because you spend a 3rd overall pick on a guy, you definitely need to get superstar production to be worth it, especially at a less valuable position like defensive tackle. I think its value is underrated because interior pressure matters. You look at guys like Aaron Donald, not just him, but Fletcher Cox, Grady Jarrett, Geno Atkins. There are a lot of examples. Chris Jones, Kansas City, a lot of examples of guys who play a big part in their defense. So it is important, but it's not necessarily quarterback, edge rusher, a position like that. So 3rd overall pick, this is what you hope to get out of him. And now he's definitely looking like exactly what he needed to be worth that pick. So he's been impressive.
Now, we all have dreams of potentially getting an edge rusher at some point this next decade. It's been
Some
what,
point in my
15
life
years?
that would do.
Oh God, it's been so brutal. We haven't really had anything since John Abraham. Now, with the Jets having as much cap as they have, uh, and all the draft picks they have, is there someone that you're particularly looking at, whether it be in free agency or the draft, that the Jets should potentially try to target? Because I feel like if you have Franklin Myers and you have Quinnen Williams, if you start adding some edge pressure onto this, you're going to have to get quarterbacks stepping up right into Quinnen Williams and into John Franklin Myers. Like this is where you could really start seeing a lot of the sacks and the defense really start to come alive. So what players are you potentially looking at come free agency or the draft?
Yeah, the edge market is interesting in free agency because there are some good names in terms of like defensive ends who line up outside the tackles, put their hand in the dirt. But what the Jets kind of need is because they're edge rushers. You have Terrell Basham, Jordan Jenkins, guys who are outside linebackers standing outside. At least in this defense, because we're going to have a new defensive coordinator. Greg Williams is gone today, so for a fact it's going to be a new defense. So maybe the Jets do play defense in which they could run with with a couple of defensive ends, sort of more of a 4-3 front. But there are some good options that play that position. You have Romeo Okora from Detroit, and there are a few other ones. Hendrickson from the Saints. So there are definitely some good options there. Then at the outside linebacker spot, there are guys who stand up in the outside, sort of that Jenkins mold. There are some good options, but they have question marks. Bud Dupree's has had a great season, but he'll be coming off an ACL. You have Matt Judon, he's been very productive, but at the same time, there's sort of a question mark about how legitimate his production is. Is he just getting unblocked pressures, stunts? They have a great secondary that makes it easy to produce pressure. And also you have Ngakoue, his teammate in Baltimore, who's been a great pass rusher throughout his career, but he's had a down season. So there are definitely some good options on the edge market. So they're at both positions, but it'll depend on whether they, what kind of defense they run. Are they going to want defensive ends? Or are they going to want outside linebackers? But it's a pretty good market at the edge position. So it definitely depends on what kind of defense they hope to run.
Now, when you're looking towards free agency, and I see some guys talking about it in the chat, wide receiver, who are you kind of eyeballing? I know a lot of the people are kind of thinking Allen Robinson. Some people say Juju. Some people say Galladay. Are there any other names that you would like to see the Jets bring in, or who are you sort of eyeing in free agency?
Yeah, I think either of those guys would be great. They both fit that sort of number one mold, and you don't necessarily need a number one receiver to be great. It's amazing to have, but there are a lot of teams that have succeeded just by having a deep all-around core. But those two guys fit that sort of number one mold. Guys who can make contested catches, have that size-speed combination. So Galladay or Robinson would be great if those guys do shake free. But there are a few other solid options out there. It's definitely not a top-heavy market, but it's pretty deep, I think, when you look at the list. There are a few other options. Chris Godwin, if he does become available, because it is a pretty crowded room there in Tampa Bay, he would be fantastic. And he's right there with Robinson and Galladay, I think, in terms of overall skill set. So there are definitely some good options. And in the draft, it's going to be a deep class, too. You could hit that with the Seattle pick in the first round, the early second round pick. But I think it would be good to fix, because you're going into next season with Mims and Crowder. You have two positions knocked out there, and you're probably going to need one more starter opposite Mims. So if they can knock that out in free agency and then go into the draft with a lot more flexibility, to be willing to take defense, to take offensive line with those other two early picks, and I think that'd be really helpful. But the wide receiver market, you have Corey Davis, I think, is an underrated option. Not necessarily a number one guy, but he's been very efficient this season. One of the most efficient receivers in the league in terms of yards per target, yards per route run, things like that. He's been very good this season. Quietly has started to look more like the guy Tennessee thought they're getting. And especially if they do sign, or if they hire my guy, Arthur Smith, there's a connection there. Will Fuller, obviously he's dealing with a suspension that will carry over one game into next season, but and he has serious injury questions, but when he's been healthy, he's been very good. So there are some options out there. Obviously Juju is going to be out there. He's definitely an interesting one because he's he's definitely produced the most in the slot, and he's become uh, pretty much a slot receiver primarily. So it clashes with Crowder a little bit, and he hasn't been too productive since the 2018 season when Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell were there. So I'm not too high on the idea of Juju, mostly because the clash with Crowder, but he's definitely an option. Maybe they do try to move him outside, and that works for him. But Curtis Samuel's out there, not a number one guy, but a talented kind of gadget, versatile guy we can use in a lot of different ways. But that's pretty much the cream of the crop, I think. It's definitely beyond that, you're looking at complementary guys. Bringing back Perriman is probably right on par with anyone else out there, which I think works. Perriman has shown, I think, with Flacco especially, he can get open deep. He's a great deep threat, and if he's your fourth receiver, and even if Mims develops into a legit number one, and Perriman's your third option behind Mims and Crowder, that's fine as well, I think. So bringing back Perriman should definitely be on the list as well. But I do think you definitely want to look for an upgrade over him first before whether it's free agency or the draft. And try to upgrade over him as the third receiver. But if he's your fourth guy, then I think you can't do much better than that.
Yeah, I really like the idea of bringing back Perriman as the number 4. Receiver-wise, who knows? It's going to be interesting. Godwin is probably the guy that I like the most. I don't necessarily see him shaken free. Robinson would be my 1B if you were. You brought up your guy Arthur Smith, so let's start talking a little bit about head coaching and coaching in general. We had Greg Williams get fired today after yesterday's debacle with that last play. What did you think of everything that went on with that? The Marcus May comments. Was there any pressure from the players that caused this? Was it media driven? We found out today that Adam Gase was the one that pulled the trigger on it. What were your thoughts on the Greg Williams firing?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting fallout. I kind of didn't think it would happen initially, just because of how complacent they've been with. I mean, Adam Gase is still here. The Jets are 0-12, so they've definitely really been willing to just ride it out. But of course, this was a Gase decision to actually kind of dump him. So I guess it is just sort of a reactionary move by Gase with all the fire coming his way. And also, of course, he had to get the okay from ownership to actually go through with it. And then I think from their perspective, it's probably more of just a reactionary thing to just because of. I don't think he actually did it on purpose as a tank move, which wouldn't make sense because now we know he's fired anyway. So it's not as if anything was promised to him. He could stay, things like that. I don't think he did it on purpose. It's just Greg Williams being Greg Williams. That's not a defense for the call. It was wrong. It was a very bad call to make in that situation, but that's sort of his mentality. So I don't think he did it on purpose, but it just looks so much like that this narrative has been created that they might have been doing it on purpose, that I think the organization was definitely okay with kind of dispelling that by just firing him, kind of sort of making an attempt to squash the idea that they're tanking on purpose to kind of clear the air, get the drama out, and sort of make themselves, specifically to Lawrence, head coach candidates, that they're not just tanking on purpose, trying to clear that idea, which I don't think they are. So I think that's probably the primary motive, but it ultimately does come down to just Gase being Gase and making this call himself, just a reactionary move off of one play. So that's probably the core of it, I think. Just Gase kind of with a big ego move here. But from the organization standpoint, I think it's just about reaction to the their reaction to the collective reaction of this play looking like an obvious tank move. I think that's really what it came down to.
Yeah, there's a little part of me that was like slightly concerned when I heard it was Gase. I was like, all right, so Gase pushes out McCagnon. Now Gase is pushing out Greg Williams. Are we setting up ourselves for some sort of, doomsday situation where Adam Gase is in on the tank and he's coming back next year because Trevor Lawrence is the perfect prototypical quarterback for the offensive guru? What do you think about the head coaching search? I would assume, we heard some rumors of Pat Fitzgerald. What do you think of the head coaching search for the Jets this upcoming offseason, and who are some of your candidates that you would like to see them look at?
Yeah, and I do agree with you. It is scary to think about it. Until he's actually gone, can't help but worry. But I do think it's pretty much a lock that he's going to go. That seems to be what most people, at least that I've seen, are indicating. So we'll assume he's going to go. I think he is. But in terms of the coaching search, there are just so many different ways you can go. There's the kind of the coordinator camp. Do you want a guy who like Arthur Smith, Eric Bieniemy, Brian Dable, who have run a successful offense, and you want to move forward with a guy like that to coach Trevor Lawrence? There's the camp that kind of wants a leader, a proven head coach to fix the culture, and that's Joe Douglas's been his main driving point since coming here, building a better culture, which is important for a team that might not win a game this year. So you have those two camps, but I think you definitely want to see a combination of both. Whoever you can get that brings the best of both worlds to the table, I think is who I'm on board for. Someone who, is in tune with the modern game, can run a good offense or defense. I'm definitely okay with the defensive guy. If he's a good leader, if he can build a program, then that's definitely okay. That's the main priority. You would I would prefer for it to be an offensive guy, just because I would like to, because offensive coordinators just get poached so easily. So I would prefer to have that guy be the head coach, so you don't have to lose the leader of your offense. But if you get if a defensive coach is the best pick to rebuild your culture and just be a leader, a teacher, a guy who relates with players, who can lead the locker room, all the things Gase can't do, then if that's a defensive guy, if he's a neutral guy, sort of like Joe Judge, or a special teams sort of mind, then that's okay as well. So I think that's the main thing. But at the same time, you do need someone who, has scheme knowledge, is in tune with the game right now. So Arthur Smith, to me, I think is a guy who sort of checks those boxes the most, because what he's done, scheme-wise, we've seen it. Tennessee, their turnaround, Tannehill, Henry, their emergence has been fantastic. The production's all there. But I mean, when you read up about him, it just seems like he's had that very good player to coach relationship. Players enjoy, he coaches players, teaches them. Players just seem to have a good relationship with him. So it seems like he's that guy to me. But there are a lot of other good candidates. I think Robert Saleh in San Francisco is a good one, even though he's defensive. So Jets fans haven't talked about him much. He might be the best pure leader and just coach on the market, and his defense's production this season's been more impressive than last, because they're still very good defensively, even with all the losses they've had. Bosa's injury, they traded Buckner, Sherman's been hurt, and they've still been very good. So Salah's a good one. Then you look at college, Pat Fitzgerald, Matt Campbell, check the boxes as leaders, guys who have been a head coach. And, they could, college coaches could be a route that more teams go. With Matt Rule's success, Cliff Kingsbury's success, the Cardinals have lost a few games, but I think you still consider Kingsbury's success right now. So college ranks is somewhere they could go. Eric Bieniemy, Brian Dable are guys who I would like. So I think there are a lot of good options. And if they do stay on track and get that top pick, it's definitely going to be a very attractive opening. And like this Bill Cowher rumor, for example, I don't think I'd be on board with that, just because of, it's been 14 years since he's coached, so I don't know how in tune with the game he is. But if that is true, just the idea that he would entertain the Jets, does see them as attractive, goes to show what Joe Douglas has built, how this roster looks, and the allure that Trevor Lawrence could have to this position. So I think there are a lot of good options. And if the Jets do get that top pick and guarantee this candidate the opportunity to coach him, it really adds to it. And Daniel Jeremiah had a video that he did, and he talked about it. They asked him, like, if you're Eric Bieniemy, would you actually want to coach that team? And Jeremiah said, I get the opportunity to coach Trevor Lawrence. I'm coaching Trevor Lawrence. So that is going to be huge. And that's the reason that tanking for him is so important. It's not just getting him. It's what he does to make the head coaching position a lot more attractive. So they're going to have good options, I think. So it's on the Johnsons to not mess it up like they did last time and actually pick someone who is good at coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us last time, as soon as we heard Adam Gase's name get called, we were like, oh my God, they did it. What did they do? I heard the Cowher rumors earlier, and I was just going to get into that as well. I agree with you. 14 years is a long time. There is part of me that wants to see a legitimacy brought to the Jets organization, someone like we had with Parcells. So someone like a Cowher or a Harbaugh, I get why those might look attractive to some fans. I think to the Johnsons, if they're going to be the ones that are kind of pushing for certain options, I think that would be the route they might prefer to go. I think if Douglas is more in charge of it, I think someone like an Arthur Smith could be the route that we go. So what do you think about like Jim Harbaugh and everything he's done leading up to the Michigan job, then the Michigan job, and now his potential move to the NFL?
Yeah, I'm not a big Harbaugh guy. I just don't, his Michigan tenure hasn't been too successful. It just sort of seems like that kind of chasing the big name type of hire, which I don't think the Jets necessarily have a reputation of doing. Todd Bowles, Adam Gase aren't necessarily big name popular hires. So I don't know if it's necessarily something they have tended to do with coaches, but it definitely doesn't seem like, the move for me. I think the positive of it is you have a guy who has that head coach ability. I think you don't question whether he can, bring intensity to the game, and maybe he is just an NFL guy and college isn't his speed. And San Francisco did collapse after he left. He did a good job there, but ultimately I don't think, and especially just, in terms of coaching quarterbacks, offensive side of the ball, I don't think there's, too much of a positive track record there. He's definitely near the bottom of my list. There are some reasons to believe in it, but I think he'd be near the bottom. But a couple of other guys I forgot to mention. Todd Monken from Georgia, I think I think he checks a lot of boxes. He has head coach experience. He turned around Southern Miss, a program that was almost winless, and really made them respectable. Tampa Bay as the offensive coordinator a couple of years ago. A lot of production there. Cleveland didn't go too well last year, but there were a lot of other people at fault for that one. But he has experience on both sides of the ball. He's been head coach. He's a college offensive coordinator right now. He's been everywhere. And he's had success in a lot of different roles. So I think he is a great option as well. Joe Brady with the Panthers is a very interesting one. Personally, for me, I think it's too early. He's only 31 right now. I think that's too young. And this is his first and only year in the NFL. So I think it's too early, but still what he's done over there, what he did at LSU, and now in his first year at the Panthers, very impressive. The Panthers have been a good offense this year with a team that looked ready to tank. Helped Robbie Anderson break out. Teddy Bridgewater's playing well. They've lost Christian McCaffrey and they stayed afloat. So he's done a great job over there. And I think he will be a great head coach someday, probably the year after next. But right now, probably a little too early for me. But if they want to go for it, I'm all for it. It would just be that swing for the fences, sort of like Kingsbury with the Cardinals. But so if they do want to do that, I would be okay with it. But I do think it's a little early for me. There are some other routes I would go, but he's definitely really intriguing.
Yeah, Joe Brady's one that I've really liked a lot. I'm a big fan of the Saints offense, and him coming from the Saints organization prior to LSU really, sort of hits home. I like that whole scheme they got. I thought when we had John Morton, I thought he was the best offensive coordinator we've had in, God, maybe the last 10 years. And to watch him go away kind of hurt, because what he was doing with McCown was nothing short of awesome.
Yeah,
I'd really like to see that style. But I agree with you. I think he's really young. I think the thought of him trying to put together a coaching staff is a little concerning, being only 31 years of age. Are you in the camp of you want previous head coaching experience, or just a guy that, maybe more the coordinator route, like the Arthur Smith?
Yeah, I'm definitely not in the camp where I need previous head coaching experience, especially because you just look around the league, and most of the successful coaches are in their first stint as a head coach. There are successful, guys on their second term, but at some point, all these guys have been head coaches for the first time. So I definitely think, but there is credence to the idea that this team right now needs that more than any other situation because of where they're at. They need to recover culture, perception-wise, with the season they're having. So I would definitely be okay with it. I just think there are still good candidates out there that don't have head coaching experience that still could fit what they need, like Arthur Smith, Eric Bieniemy, Robert Saleh, guys like that. I think even though they don't have head coaching experience, they still check a lot of boxes, and they shouldn't be ignored just because they don't have head coaching experience. But at the same time, there are guys like Todd Monken, Matt Campbell, even Pat Fitzgerald, who also do check a lot of boxes and also happen to have head coaching experience. So I definitely don't have a preference either way. I don't need to get a coordinator. I don't need to see a former head coach. Just, can they lead? Do they understand the modern game? Just all the boxes that head coach should check that the Jets largely ignored with their last hire.
Do you think there's a head coaching candidate that the Jets could hire that, might make Trevor Lawrence consider pulling the Eli Manning and turning away from the Jets? Should we be factoring in the whole Trevor Lawrence part of this equation, or is it a decision that Joe Douglas and Christopher and Woody Johnson have to come to ahead of time?
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I do wonder if he will have any sort of input on it at all. Not that would necessarily be legal, but if he is, if the Jets finish number one, they're selecting him. That. So I wonder if there would be any sort of a cooperation between his camp and the Jets in selecting that candidate. But could there be anyone who could drive him away? I mean, count on the Jets to find that person. I don't necessarily know who it is, but if he's out there, I mean, Chris Johnson will probably find him. So I don't necessarily know, but I mean, they're going to have so many good options. So it would be a tough one to blow. But I mean, I'm crossing my fingers they don't mess this one up.
Yeah, it felt like 2 years ago it was the most important head coaching hire we have made in like the last 20 years. And now that we've seen how this Sam Darnold experience has played out, and we're in the position we're about to be in, whether we're pick 1 or 2, whether it's Lawrence or Fields, it's amazing to think that this is now the most important coaching hire that we're ever going to have to make. And having to be worried about it is legitimate because of the track record the Jets head coaches have had. Now, I do think that as long as Joe Douglas is involved in this decision and leads this head coaching search, I think we can put some faith in him. It seems like he's pretty well connected throughout the rest of the NFL, from his free agency moves, like just to not overpaying for guys like Poole, not overpaying for guys like Jordan Jenkins. It seems like he's really plugged into the financial side of things, the player side of things with the waiver pickups that we've talked about, like a Elfline and like God, I don't know, just some of the moves he's made in season. I think he knows more than what we've gotten out of former GMs. So I'm excited to see what we get out of him. In terms of the Jets, like the rest of their schedule, we're looking at Seattle, the Rams, the Browns, and the Patriots. Do you see 0-4 in these next 4 weeks?
I definitely do. I think that's what I would bet on, but I just don't want to be sitting here counting the chickens before they hatch. 4 games left. I'm just sitting here week by week watching it play out. But they've had all these losses throughout these past 4 games or so, where you've just watched them and just been like, okay, if they can't win this game, they're not going to win the rest of these games. Look at the Patriots game. Flacco was tremendous. They had a huge lead, blew that one. Chargers are the worst team on their schedule in terms of record, and they got off to a good start in that one and couldn't hold on to it, and almost came back into it, still couldn't complete it. Then the Raiders, they played pretty well for the most part, came back and took the lead there, and found a way to blow that in the most improbable way. So the next 4 games are 4 of the toughest on their schedule. Cleveland is one that I thought could be a potential win, just because I mean the Browns came into this week with a negative point differential, but this win against the Titans was a pretty big statement. So that definitely seems like a game they'll lose. The next 2 games, we'll see, but at the Seahawks and Rams, even with the Seahawks losing to the Giants, this past game seems impossible. And the home field is neutralized a little bit without the fans, but still traveling hurts. And then the Patriots week 17 is the big one. I'm hoping the Patriots can stay alive by that point, because there is that fear that Belichick is just going to pull something. He doesn't want Trevor Lawrence in his division. He's going to find a way to keep him out. So I would hope the Patriots are still in the playoff race by that point and are, playing to win that game and not starting Jarrett Stidham, because that probably won't go well. But then you look at the Jaguars schedule. Hopefully they just can, because this should be over. The Jets are 0-12, but we still have to sit here and worry about it. And the strength of schedule tiebreaker, the Jets aren't going to be getting that. The Jags had a big week in terms of that this week, so that is pretty much over unless the Jets can do something miraculous and get like 80% of the games that matter in that race. So the Jaguars probably the tiebreaker. So, but they've been playing well. They played the Packers good, played the Browns good, and they just played the Vikings, took them into overtime. So it's been frustrating to watch them come so close to just ending this race. But 4 games left, I think they're bound to get a win. It's a tough schedule. They have the Titans, Ravens, Bears, and Colts. But you have two divisional games. They beat the Colts in week 1. They lost to the Titans by 3 points the week after that. The Ravens don't look great right now. They look like a beatable team, and the Bears are one of the worst teams in football over the past couple months or so. So I think that's the one that's going to be the big turning point. That Jaguars Bears game in Week 16. I think that is when we could see this race officially be ended, and we can go into Week 17 with this thing pretty much in the books, especially with that Patriots game lingering. That would be a good time to finish it off before Belichick can do anything. But I definitely want to watch it play out and not just sit here and act like we have it locked up. But it definitely seems like the Jets have very low chance of winning any games over these final 4.
Yeah, I would say the Patriot game is the one that scares me the most because it's not below Bill Belichick to just, hey, you know what, we're out. We're just going to see what we have with Jarrett Stidham. Who knows? Cam Newton's only on a 1-year deal. Or, whatever. Even Cam Newton looks beatable. I mean, heck, we lost on a last-second field goal.
Yeah.
Who knows what happens? When I look at the Jaguars schedule, and I've been following your rooting schedule for the different strength of schedule, I've reposted that a few times. It seems like it's a little far-fetched at this point, so we need the Jags to win. That's why that that overtime loss yesterday was just such a heartbreaker. It could have been such a big swing for the Jets. Now, I would like to see the Colts kind of lock up a playoff spot by the time Week 17 rolls around. I like you said with the Bears, I hope that happens first because then you don't leave that chance up to Bill Belichick in the final week of the season. But I think there are some opportunities, and the Jags have been playing well. Although the Jets have been playing in a weird roundabout way, playing sort of well. I just think our 4 games at this point are going to be harder than their 4 games with the Bears, with the Colts, with the Titans. I don't know. If there's one game that the Jets, if we have to win a game, I think it's this next one that I would like the most, more than anything. Nothing would make me happier if we could get the number 1 overall pick than beating Jamal Adams, hopefully knocking our later first-round pick into a better position. I guess that one would probably help the most in terms of strength of schedule, maybe. Or maybe I guess Los Angeles if we wind up beating a team that's really good. I don't know if there's a game you had to win. If the Jets are getting one win, which game is it?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's probably the Seattle game, mostly just because it will help the draft position, knocking that pick up a few spots. And also just to get some vengeance against Jamal Adams would be pretty great. For Denzel Mims to maybe dunk on him a couple times with a couple mosses over him in the end zone would be pretty great. However they can create that matchup, just make it happen. But that'd be pretty awesome. But that's probably the one. If you had to win one game, still stay ahead in the race, that would be it. But I was watching the Vikings and Jaguars game at the same time as the Jets game, and I thought we were going to get it. I thought we were going to get the 1-2 punch and just end it right there. We could relax the next 3 weeks. Didn't happen though. It's annoying because they're doing it without Minshew. Glennon and Luton was terrible. Glennon's been better than him, but still probably not as good as Minshew would be. And yet they're still hanging in there with really good teams. So it feels like they're right on the verge, and it's going to happen at some point. I could see them winning any of these next 4 games. They obviously won't be favored in any of them. Maybe they will against the Bears, but I could see them beating Tennessee. They played them close the first time. The Titans obviously are not coming off of a strong week against the Browns. So I could see it at some point, and it's going to be relieving if it does happen. I don't want to sit here and jinx it, but if it does happen, the Jaguars getting that win would be a huge weight lifted off the shoulders.
Chris Bucco says 0-16 or bust. Strength of schedule officially over. If we could go 0-16, we just solve everything. We are in control of our own fate.
Right.
V-Man says Joe Douglas will make the difference. By the way, moment of silence for the lives lost during the attack on Pearl Harbor. I didn't even realize that was today. Oh, geez, that is bad. Liddy Powell, Ryan Michael, do you think Sam Darnold is a complete bust or just dealt a bad hand and now needs a reset? What do you think about Sam Darnold, Mike?
Yeah, I think I lean more towards the bad hand because for him to be a complete bust, I think we would have to have him put into circumstances where you could totally not put anything on his shoulders. But look, a lot of it is his fault. He's definitely not the complete franchise changer we thought he would be, or else he would be having a breakout season this year. First 2 years, perfectly fine. He had a normal rookie season, finished very promisingly. Last year, there were a lot of obstacles. There was the mono, there were other injuries he dealt with, horrible offensive line, but he still showed a lot of promise throughout the second half of that season. It's really just this season where it's gone downhill. And especially being 21, first 2 years are totally fine how he produced. It's just this year that has been the complete regression. So I think a lot of it's on him. He's definitely one of the probably worst Jets, not necessarily worst draft picks. It made perfect sense to take him. And 2 years in, it looked like it was going to work out or had a good chance to. So I wouldn't call him a bust, but definitely there is. It's largely on the Jets for blowing it, not building the offensive line, not getting him weapons, hiring Gase, numerous things they did wrong. But at the same time, he's just not the player that they thought he would be, or else he would be having a good season this year because they've helped him out pretty well. The offensive line has been decent. The receivers, although they've been hurt, he's got them back now, and he still hasn't taken the step up. And even when they were out, there were a lot of open receivers he just weren't hitting. So I don't think he's a bust. I wouldn't call. I just don't think, when I think bust, I think Hackenberg, I think Golston. I don't think he's necessarily in that class, but it's definitely a pick that hasn't worked out well and is right up there as one of their worst impact picks. It's hard to find a name for it because bust just doesn't work for me. But at the same time, there's definitely, he's not what they hoped they were getting with that pick. But bust isn't a word. That one just doesn't work for me just because of how poorly the Jets helped him out. But at the same time, he hasn't been what you hoped he would be.
Now, before I let you go, I want to ask, what do you think his trade value is? Where do you think he goes? What sort of future is in Sam's future? What are we getting from him, or what are we getting for him? What do you think about the trade value and his potential landing spots?
I think it'll probably be, for a 23-year-old quarterback, was the number 3 pick 3 years ago. In terms of the way he's played this season, he's probably knocked his value as low as it could realistically be, but just because of the positional value and his draft status and his youth and they're legitimate excuses, but Adam Gase, offensive line, everything you could say for him, there will be teams that I think will place a high value on him and think they can, turn him around and make him into, if not a franchise quarterback, at least a good starter. So I think he'll probably be probably second or third rounder. I don't know if he'll get a first rounder, because you got to think, if you're getting a first rounder, it's not going to be definitely not a high first rounder from a bad team that probably needs a quarterback. And if it's a low first rounder, those teams, maybe you could get a low first rounder from a team that is contending, has a veteran quarterback, is maybe trying to find the replacement for a few years down the line. I probably lean towards a second, maybe a third, one of those 2 rounds. I think it'll probably be a day 2 pick. That's where I lean towards. Adam Schefter, and this was a few months back, I think it was October, but he said that the consensus was they would get a Josh Rosen type of package, which I think was a second and a fifth. So I think that's probably where it will be. And in terms of his future, I think what we're seeing this year is definitely the worst we'll see from him. I don't think this will be the normal for him. It hasn't been the normal for him. He was much better, or not close to as bad his first 2 seasons, even as a rookie. So I think he won't look this bad again, I don't think, over a whole season. But will he be someone's franchise quarterback? That I probably don't lean to. Because there are things that will, I think, be improved by playing with better coaching, better support. But there are also some things that he shows you that I'm not exactly sure are just going to go away when he goes somewhere else, whether it's, just wide open reads, he doesn't have the confidence to throw, sacks he's taking that he shouldn't be taking, mechanical things that, it seems like he's worked on, but still hasn't been able to fix, deep accuracy. They're just things that I'm not sure will go away that will hold him back from being franchise quarterback. But I could see him having maybe a Ryan Fitzpatrick sort of career where he bounces around, has a good season here or there for some other teams, but ultimately never sticks. as someone's franchise quarterback, but I won't rule it out. I think he does. He's still only 23. I could see him figuring it out and becoming the answer for someone. But I probably lean towards he'll be more of a journeyman sort of starter, not necessarily bad. A guy who is one of the league's 30 best quarterbacks, so starts, for a team throughout most of his career, but doesn't necessarily find the place where he sticks. So it will be interesting to see. But I do hope it happens in the NFC, because the last thing I want to see is him having success with a rival who the Jets have to deal with. So hopefully he goes to the NFC, and I will root for him to have success, because he got dealt a bad hand. It's hard to dislike him at all. He's been extremely professional, likable guy. So I'll be rooting for him to have success. Hopefully it's in the other conference where we don't have to see it.
Yeah, for me, I'm hoping we kind of go the route of sending him towards the Saints. I know I've said it before. I like what they do there. I like Sean Payton. I would like to see Sam really go to a true offensive mind. I think Sean Payton's one of the top 5 coaches in the league. For me, I like the picks. I think if you could get a second round pick, that would be awesome. I don't think we're getting a first, like you said. The other option that I could see that I would like to explore potentially is the trade route of a player for a player. So you trade Sam to a team that has a lot of caps, or that does not have a lot of caps, but it's a team like the Saints that are projected to be $90 million over the salary cap. You have guys that are coming up on contracts like right tackle Ryan Ramczyk or cornerback Marcus Lattimore, both areas that the Jets could, in theory, take on a player for. What would you think of swapping Sam for a player, or are you specifically looking more for the draft pick and the controllable contract for the multiple years?
Yeah, I mean, if that sort of opportunity came up, it would definitely be really interesting. We obviously don't see a lot of those in the NFL, player for player type trades. It's usually the draft compensation. So but if something like that came up, and you mentioned a good point, if there is a team like the Saints who, could be looking to dump some salary, but at the same time add a quarterback prospect who they could use, then, you definitely could jump on that opportunity. But I think at the same time, it would be so attractive. You already have Seattle's first round pick. You have Seattle's third round pick. You have probably the top pick, if not the second pick, in every single round. So to add another second rounder to that puts you in such tremendous position to rebuild this team coming off of probably no wins, maybe one win. So it would be to turn Darnold into a second round pick, which, we're probably guessing maybe it's third, maybe it's first, who knows. But to add another premium pick to, you already have, again, like you mentioned, they have a ton of picks already. So to have already great draft ammunition, add that in there, puts you in such a good spot to rebuild. So I think I'd be looking for the pick primarily, but like you brought up, if something like that, if you get that opportunity, then there's definitely value to be had there if it's the right player.
Michael, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Let everyone know where they can find you, what you're all about. Give yourself a little plug.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Michael_Nania. Go ahead and follow Jets X Factor Twitter at Jets X Factor. Visit jetsxfactor.com, subscribe there. You can get your first month free, try us out, see if you like it. And a portion of all of our subscription proceeds are donated to United Way of New York City to fight COVID-19. So try it out for a month, see if you like us, jetsxfactor.com. Film breakdowns from Joe Blewett, Robbie Sabo, analytics from me. Definitely the best place for in-depth Jets analysis on a daily basis. So try us out, jetsxfactor.com. And I think you'll definitely like it. But again, first month free, so definitely worth trying. And there's going to be so much fun stuff, or hopefully there will be. Again, I don't want to assume we're going to nail this first pick. Hopefully it happens. Fingers crossed. But it should be a fun offseason either way. Cap space, draft picks. There will be it feels like we say this all the time, like we're going to have this fun offseason, but legitimately there are a lot of things to look forward to this offseason. So it's a good time to definitely be in on the content.
Yeah, I definitely am looking forward to what you guys put out. I love watching all your stuff and all your breakdowns, throughout the year. So thanks again for coming on, and I hope I get to have you on again in the future.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Take it easy, Michael. All right. Let me get back to my main camera so I'm not on this little webcam thing over here. Give me just a second. Bam! And we're back. All right. So that was Michael Nania. Fantastic Jets fan. This guy knows so much about the team. Oh, I did not update my little stats from last week, so I got to do that. Post game. Oh, sorry, Miami. Where are all those? Bam! Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. All right, let's go over to the phone lines. I'm gonna pull up Google Voice, and we'll get some of your opinions on everything that you guys are thinking about for what we heard from Michael Nania. Bam! Phone lines are open. If you can't get through, just keep trying. Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about. If you guys want to talk about Bill Cowher, if you guys want my thoughts on that, I think he absolutely needs to hope. We need to hope that the game has not passed him by, and that's first and foremost. All right, let's see if I can get this audio working. All right. Caller, I believe I have you on the line. Hold on one second. I think I need to change one thing. This may have been what caused it before. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for hopping on. How
are you?
What's on your mind?
Basically, the whole Trevor Lawrence going back to college for another year thing. Like, how do you feel on that?
I don't think it's happening. I think his the whole comment he made before his last home game, it's my last game in Death Valley. I think he's coming out. I think he's going to go number 1 overall, and I think as long as the Jets have that pick, I think he's definitely going to be here, and I think he's going to like being here. I think the Jets have a lot going for us. The cap pick, the cap space, the draft picks, the potential of a new head coach. I think there's a lot of things trending up for us.
Yeah. But like I was talking to one of my buddies the other day, and he's like, there have been quarterbacks that have said last game, whatever, this, that, and the other, and then they ended up going back to college.
So do you think that would be the case? I feel like there's.
I don't 100% know how I feel yet, because Trevor Lawrence is his ceiling's super high. You don't want him to end up like a Tim Tebow type guy where he's like really high, thinks he's gonna be really good, and then he just does nothing. So does he go another year? I don't think so, but a lot of people I talk to think that's what's gonna happen.
I'd be pretty surprised if he went back, because if he goes back, you're talking the career earnings of like $30 million are not going to be there. And that's not $30 million from his rookie contract. It's, if he's going to play 3 years and then sign a mega deal like Mahomes did, like Watson did, or like Jackson's going to do, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what he does. I think he's going to be coming out. What do you think about the Bill Cowher rumors? Do you think the head coaching search is going to have an impact on what Trevor Lawrence decides to do?
Yeah. I'd love Bill Cowher to go coach the Jets. I don't think it will happen. I think he wants to stay a broadcast. Or he does the halftime shows now. But I
think he's on CBS or Fox or one of those.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to leave that. He's loving life doing that. It's easy. He doesn't. Head coaching's hard. It's not an easy cat. And I don't like Gase. No one does, but it's a hard thing.
Sure, yeah. Now, what did you think about the Greg Williams firing?
I loved it. It was great. It was about time we got rid of him.
Oh man, it was long overdue. What did you think of the game yesterday?
That was dreadful, man. Come on. Having a lead with four points. How many seconds was it? Like 7? 6 or 7?
Maybe. I want to say it was a lead with probably. I think he ran into the end zone with about 4 or 5 seconds left. So it's brutal.
Yeah, it is absolutely 100% brutal, bro. And the craziest part about all of it is, I feel like he tried to throw the game.
I see. I've heard people say that. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I think the amount of if you're trying to tank that game, I don't think you do it in the final 5 seconds. Now, I do think
No.
there should be a statue immortalizing Greg Williams out front if we get the first overall pick and we get Trevor Lawrence.
yeah.
He will have done us such a solid. But
Yeah.
I don't think he threw it on purpose. I think it was just a boneheaded decision. I think he wanted to get aggressive, and it just did not work.
Didn't work. Yeah. Here's one of my questions I have. I have one more after. What do you think
Sure.
the Jets are going to do with that 23rd or 24th pick? With the Seahawks picks, basically, sorry.
It depends what happens in free agency, because I could see them going the guard route if they don't get Tooney or Sheriff or one of the other guards that hits free agency. I think interior offensive line is going to be a need at some point. Now, I do like the idea of potentially going receiver. There's going to be a few receivers hitting the open market in terms of free agency. And then you also have a deep wide receiver class, so that you could kind of go either way there. Edge rusher, I've heard the draft's not as deep in edge rusher, so I think that's probably not going to be a pick there. Cornerback is one that I would consider. Cornerback, edge, or cornerback, wide receiver, guard are like the 3 positions I'm kind of looking at in that first round.
Yeah. I know this is going to sound a little crazy. I'm kind of thinking running back in that after the Trevor Lawrence pick.
It's because everyone wants ETN. Everyone wants ETN, right? Well, who do you want? Is that the pick you're looking at?
Yeah, ETN, man. ETN. It's just.
Dude, it would.
Yeah, ETN, man. Are we gonna stick with Michael P. Ryan for a year? Like, I don't.
No, I think P. Ryan's going to stay as a third down back. I think we definitely need a running back, whether it's someone we pick up. I'm looking forward to having him. I'm not rolling into next season with him as my bell cow. I'm bringing in some kind of competition, whether that's like I think Chris Carson's going to be a free agent. You know, there's some running backs in the draft. I do like ETN.
Yeah, I do like ETN as well. The last free agent running back we got was Le'Veon Bell, so we don't have very much luck with that.
No, I don't see us going that route. But the time before that, we had Chris Ivory, and Chris Ivory was pretty rock solid. And then
Chris Ivory was great. I don't know why we got rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, he was a bull. I would love to see the Jets get a back that we could depend on week in and week out. And I feel like we haven't really had that type of running back. I mean, I guess Chris Ivory for a season when we had that, what was it, 2015 or 2016 run.
2015.
Yeah. Other than that, I would say Thomas Jones was the last quarterback or last running back I really remember that I felt super confident in week in and week out.
Yeah, I don't know. The real thing with running backs in the Jets is we don't have a line, so we can't work anything. The last time we had a decent line was 2015.
Yeah, dude, that's one of the biggest things we got to look at. Offensive line on the interior, all around. I think the offensive line, it's like a chicken or the egg situation. Is it the running back or is it the offensive line that creates all that openness? Dude, thank you so much for calling in. I'm going to jump to some more callers, and you have been ejected. You're out of here! From the cockpit. Oh, God, I love the little chicken emoji. HMNI says, how do you zero blitz twice in a row? Because Greg Williams is the man. All right, another caller on the line.
Call from
Matt.
Hey, Matt, what's up, dude? Welcome to the cockpit.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I'm saying one thing. I've never been so happy for a Jets loss. Never in my life.
I don't know if you saw this, but literally I'm working at a Christmas tree farm for the last few weeks, and I'm watching the game on a cell phone, and I'm watching the game. I'm like, oh, the Jets are going to win this game. Now all of a sudden I have to be okay with Justin Fields, and we're not getting Trevor Lawrence, and this sucks, but, I'm going to be happy with Fields either way. And then they score the touchdown, and I literally start screaming and running around like an airplane through the Christmas tree field. And people are like, what is this clown doing? And I'm like, I don't care. I am so happy right now. I think all the Jet fans were absolutely over the moon. I was watching Jets media's reaction to it, and I'm crying laughing. It was absolutely hysterical.
Best thing about it is I have Waller in fantasy. Quick 52 points.
Oh, man. I had Waller, and I was just like, I'm so pumped. I was like, I'm leading in my fantasy league right now. And the first place team had 40 more points than me going into this final week of the regular season. And I had to make up. So he actually wound up losing. He was one game ahead of me. So we're tied. and now I scored so many points. I was just short of, so I had 172 points. Waller gave me 45 points, and then I had Rodgers. Carson got me 20. I had Snell playing tonight, but he only got me 5 yards. It really didn't do anything for me, but I should be firmly in first place in my fantasy league now.
Yeah, Waller saved me because I picked up Devontae Booker, and because I thought like, he was going to get a bunch of touches. He only got like 4 points, but at least Waller carried it.
That's huge. It's absolutely huge. Now, what's on your mind? Did you have any particular questions, coaching, players, that sort of thing?
Posting for coaching, I saw the biggest one that you would want like Joe Brady. Well, honestly, like I kind of want Matt Campbell just because like how he's rebuilt Iowa State, and after won the I think it was the running back in Iowa State when they beat who they beat. I forgot who they beat. They beat like a big team, and they beat Texas. And he was saying, like the reason why they won because it was a 5-star program versus 5-star players. Mm-hmm. So that's might as well just send Matt Campbell a check because everybody a blank check because everybody loves Matt Campbell on that team. Like everybody's bought in.
Yeah, and they tried to get him the last time they had a head coaching search too. So maybe that he saw something that he didn't like in Adam Gase, or maybe they were talking to him about, hey, we're gonna pick your offensive and defensive coordinators, and he's just like, nah, that's not happening. I wonder how likely it is that he decides to accept the Jets' offer this time around.
I mean, do you think Woody's going to make the decision or Chris Johnson? Because when does Woody come back? Like January 26th?
Yeah, I think it's later. It'll be interesting to see because so the Jets season ends with the Patriots on January 3rd. Figure January 4th is, I mean, I guess you could hear about Gase's firing on the 3rd. I don't think we hire a head coach right away. I think if we have the first overall pick, we wait and we do our due diligence and we get the guy we want to get. So we may wait through the playoffs if that guy is like an Eric Bieniemy or maybe a Greg Roman or an Arthur Smith, depending on where these guys kind of finish up. I mean, I could see them going the collegiate route. I'm not opposed to that. I like Joe Brady. I think Joe Brady's probably a little young to put together an offensive staff. What do you think about some of the rumors we've heard about, like Bill Cowher and Jim Harbaugh? Or are you thinking one of those guys, or are you thinking maybe someone you like the college route, like you like Campbell, you prefer that way?
I don't want Jim Harbaugh. But the only thing that scares me about Bill Cowher is if the game, like I think you said before, like how the game is probably like evolved too much for him. Like how you kind of saw John Gruden struggle the first few years because he didn't really know how to handle the new offenses and stuff. That's the only thing I'd be scared about, even though Cowher is a defensive guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cowher's an interesting one because he's an established head coach, but it's been 14 years since he's been in the NFL. He's been around it, like he hasn't been, just retired sitting on the couch. He's been watching film. He's been, calling, maybe not calling games, but doing the halftime and the pre-games and those sorts of things. I don't know. I just don't. No, I know he's always coveted the New York market. I know a lot of people have always linked him to the Giants. I have no idea where I want this to actually end up. I just want to know that the Jets are selecting the right guy, and I just want to not be worried about it because Trevor Lawrence's development should be first and foremost what we're taking into account here.
Yeah, like I saw one of the Jets beat reporters talking about.
Dude, I love you. Thank you so much for calling. You're ejected from the cockpit. Oh, God, I love the chicken. It's so good. Now I just don't know why. I wonder why I can't hear the chicken. Normally I hear this stuff in my ears.
Call from
John DePaulo.
John, what's up, Jude? Welcome to the cockpit.
Hey, I was just wondering what you think about the rookies.
Ooh, I'm very happy with the rookies. We'll go through them one by one. So Mekhi Becton, I think he's arguably a top 10 left tackle in the league right now. I think you can be excited for what you have in the future of him. All his injuries that we've seen this season have all been upper body injuries, so I'm not – the lower leg injuries are the ones that I'm more concerned about. I think he is an absolute home run of a pick. I think we got the best left tackle in this draft. Then you talk about Mims. Mims in the second round was someone that I thought should have gone in the first round. I thought the Packers were actually going to take him. So the fact that he fell into the second round and the Jets traded down after he was already on the board and still managed to wind up landing him, I thought was great. I think everything we've seen from him, he now has 6 games in a row of 40 yards or more. So I don't understand why we're not seeing him get more targets than he's been getting. When you go into the third round, you're talking Ashton Davis. The athleticism is definitely there. You can see the speed that he has. I think he just needs to be groomed a little bit more. I don't know how he ends up. I think he'll be a replacement for either an Adams like we've seen this year, or potentially if May winds up leaving. Zuniga, I haven't really seen a whole lot of. It's someone that I'm probably going to have to go back and really dive into and just see, has he made any kind of impact plays? Because it doesn't, none that are sticking out to me at least. Then you go into the fourth round, you got P. Ryan. I think he's a good third down back. I think you still need to bring in a starter, whether that's through the draft or free agency. The Morgan pick, a lot of you guys know how I feel on that. I thought the Morgan pick was a bad pick at the time. I think it's still a bad pick now. The fact that he's not getting any kind of starting reps is, a little concerning, especially when you're in such a lost season. I guess you're trying to build up Sam Darnold's trade value, but it would have been nice, instead of Flacco, to have seen Morgan play a little bit. Clark, I want to see him play. We haven't seen anything. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if he's injured or if he's just, not ready to start. I mean, to the point where we brought in Greg Elflein. So, I don't know. It's interesting. Then, what is that? Fifth round, you have Bryce Hall. I've been excited with what we've gotten out of Bryce Hall. I think he is a nice little late round gem. I don't know what his ceiling could possibly be. I know Green Bean, if you're still in here, I know you're super high on him. And then you look at Braden Mann, I believe he's still currently leading all AFC punters in Pro Bowl voting. So it seems like the Jets, even later in the draft, wound up coming away with guys that could be impact starters. Because when you're drafting in the sixth round, you're not drafting a stud corner or a stud, pass rusher or something like that. But getting a starting caliber punter and having a guy that you can lock in for a while at that position is a pretty solid pick, if you ask me. What were your thoughts? Is there someone that you particularly like more than another?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the rookies. Since ever Frank Gore got hurt, the rookies really, the running backs, yeah.
Yeah, the running backs. Between Ty Johnson and Josh Adams, I think both young running backs could be playing very well, and I'm hoping we get to see more of that in the future. Running behind Highway 77, the big ticket, the guy was just moving people left and right. The whole left side of that line seemed to play really, really well. And that was really the only thing that gave us the ability to move the ball. And I think when you look at Sam's performance, I don't know if he has the game he has if the running game is not what it's been. And I don't know, if you're Adam Gase, how you can justify putting Frank Gore back in there after seeing how these guys handled this game.
Yeah. My last thing is Sam Darnold. Do you think that his career is ruined now, or do you think we could still get maybe a third rounder for him?
I think we'll get at least a third rounder for him. Even if he has a terrible last 4 games, he still plays the most premium position in the whole NFL. He was the 3rd overall pick just a few years ago. I think there's going to be a team out there that would be looking at him and seeing, hey, if we trade for him, his contract's only $5 million. The cap is going down, so we need to save cap space. Let's pull the trigger on this. Let's see if we could fix him. Someone like the Saints, someone like the Colts, someone like the 49ers. The Steelers have been brought up a lot. I know O'Leary's brought up the Panthers. I think that could be a potential option. It's going to be interesting to see. I think there's going to be some competition, and I think some teams are going to offer higher picks than we would otherwise think. I mean, if you had asked me, if we'd get 2 first-round picks for Jamal, I'd say you're crazy. But, dude, thanks so much for calling in.
You're out of here!
Cockpit. God, I love that. That is so good. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I normally have all this stuff linked down in the description down below. My stream cut out with Nania at some point at the beginning of the stream, and it got me flustered, so my title and everything else is off. But we have over 100 people in here right now, and we have 50 likes. If you want to see Adam Gase fired at the end of this season, if you want to see Trevor Lawrence on the Jets, if you want to see this team eventually make a Super Bowl, drop a like in the little thumbs up spot down below. Guys, if you want to get your calls in, I'll be taking calls for about another half hour or so. Ooh, I was going to have a poll question up. I don't know if I'll be able to throw it up fast enough. It's going to be interesting. What do you guys think about Bill Cowher? What What do you think about Jim Harbaugh? What do you think about the Greg Williams firing? We got a lot of stuff we could be talking about here. Lots of stuff. Chris from Florida, I see you trying to call in. Keep trying, brother. You know what, we'll see. Let's see if we can try and surprise Chris. By surprise, Chris. I know he's been calling. Let's see if he picks up the phone.
Hey, what's going on, Ryan?
Yo, welcome to the cockpit. It's the Monday night live show where the host calls random people.
Hey, so I guess I better do my regular, what's going on, my Jet fans out there? Make sure you hit a like and subscribe for Jets Talk 24/7, and make sure you keep on ranting for that tank for Trevor Lawrence.
I love it, dude. What were your feelings about the game yesterday and everything that's transpired in the last 24 hours?
Well, I don't know if anyone's remembered, but I've completely suspended myself from watching the games. I did end up seeing the highlights. I got to be honest with you, man. Seeing the highlights and seeing Sam Darnold try so hard to push himself, not just the team, but himself. I mean, did you see how he ran in for that touchdown and knocked the crud out of that Raiders player? The kid was clearly trying to either save his job or show other teams that he can still play. So it just made me feel more bad for Sam Darnold and everything the Jets franchise and, coaching has done to him. But other than that, man, I just it shows that the players, especially the players that Joe Douglas has brought into the franchise, Joe Douglas can find talent. He can clearly find some quality players. Adam Gase is either in on the tank or he's just making sure that the Jets, even if he gets fired, like the Jets have no chance of coming back. Because who's to say if he got fired, maybe Greg Williams could have ended up having us win a couple of games.
Well, that's the biggest thing. Now that Greg Williams is gone, I almost feel okay with, like, if they fire Gase, I don't know if there's really going to be a spark. Like, I think Greg Williams could have created that spark. I don't know if it's going to be coming from the linebackers coach or whoever the new defensive coordinator is at this point.
Yeah, honestly, when I was looking at more during those last 24 hours, I was really looking towards the Jaguars because I so desperately wanted the Jaguars to win one or two games, only because I would like to win one game as the Jets, and that would be against the Browns. I would love to have seen Sam Darnold beat Baker Mayfield as a Jet, and then that would be it.
I want the Jaguars to win so badly because I want nothing more than to root for our Jets to win. Because this season, I've understood the tank and getting the best pick possible. Like, I'm all about that when you're trying to get a quarterback. Last year, I was not about it. I wanted to see as many wins as possible. This year, God, I don't know.
I understand it. That's why I suspended myself, because I can't I can't look at a screen and say, yeah, you got to lose, you got to mess it up. Oh, that's awesome, you totally overthrew it. I can't do that. But the more I don't watch, the more I feel happy to think that we're getting closer and closer to possibly a better 2021. What's your next question?
Yeah, dude, the whole head coaching search, the whole just everything that goes into it. If there's one game that I could pick to win out of all the games that I watch, in these upcoming 4 weeks, it's Seattle. Like, I would love nothing more than to beat Jamal Adams and just be like, hey, you lost to the Giants and you lost to the Jets. The Giants look like they're going to be pretty good, but the Jets, clearly the worst team in the league. Now, of course, I say that half in jest. If I have to win a game, it would be Seattle, but I don't want us to win a game. I would like to see us go 0-16. Just you control your destiny. You can make this happen, and I don't think there's any way Trevor Lawrence isn't coming out of and not playing for New York if the Jets draft him, because the other option is Jacksonville. I don't necessarily think that's anything.
Yeah, I don't know why people are saying Jacksonville's a better choice. I'm like, you don't get a lot of. If anything, you're trying to sell tickets and stuff. Like, Jaguars would probably sell just a few for a few years, but as far as like your name on a jersey and stuff, it's not going to sell as big as you think. Jacksonville's still like a small city kind of group. As far as the coaching situation, this Bill Cowher thing, I have two issues with it, to be honest with you. I think it's a great. I think it would be great. But my two things about Bill Coward is, one, he's been out of the. Yes, I understand he's an NFL analysis. That's great. He's constantly involved with the NFL. He's constantly involved with the coaching staffs and all the big talkers and players. But really, we've already seen what happens when a good coach, especially one that's won a Super Bowl, is been grown old and hasn't been involved and comes back after only 1 year of without coaching, and he hasn't done much. The second thing I have about it is, would we pay for it? Because you got to pay a big number for this guy. 4-year Super Bowl ring. What would you have to offer this guy? And would the Jets be willing to pay that?
Well, that's just it. I'm Googling to see what he makes per year as a analyst. I don't know if they're actually. I see his net worth. Does it say per month, per year? Income, salary. So it says he makes $3 million a year. I don't know if that's actually accurate right now. This is just some celebworth.net is the website I'm on. So who knows if that's actually accurate. $3 million, I think that's what Adam Gase is getting. So at least the price is sort of in the wheelhouse. It's not like some of the college coaches like a Sweeney or a Lincoln Riley that are getting paid like $8, $9, $10 million, which is a contract
But again, you're asking a coach like Bill Coward, who has 4 Super Bowl rings on his hand, and not only that, you're asking a guy to come back after so many years, and then he's going to probably ask himself, people of his age, you're looking at someone like Belichick. Now, Belichick is, I don't want to say he can compare himself to Belichick, but he is one of the greats. But at the same time, there's the flaw of you haven't coached in several years, where Belichick has been staying in the league. So, where would you say, if you were the owner and Woody Johnson was losing, because I believe Woody Johnson is going to get involved and Joe Douglas is going to have a good talk with him, what would you say to Woody Johnson to say, this is the right number to not only attract the right coach, but to get someone like him?
I would say, look, spend whatever you got to spend, because clearly the last time around when we had Adam Gase, or we brought in Adam Gase, we did not do what we had to do. I think you let the football guy make the football decision, so Joe Douglas should be in charge of the hiring. I think whoever he decides, whether it's a college coach, if it's a college coach, if it's an NFL coach, if it's a coordinator, whoever it is, I trust him. I trust him to make the right call.
I agree 100%. Thanks so much for calling me. Man, I hope all y'all are enjoying your holidays, and 2021, guys, let's look forward to it. Go Jets!
Thank you so much, Chris. Boom! And you have been.
That's it! You're out of here!
I love the cockpit. I love launch people out with the chicken. Guys, we'll be live for about another 25 minutes or so. So make sure you get your questions heard. Who we got?
What's the issue with the tissue? It's Eli.
Hey, Mr. Eli, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing really good after yesterday's game. Ooh.
Dude, I was all sorts of amped up. I was all sorts of excited. What were you doing for the game? Like, what was your reaction during that play?
Okay, so I was watching, right? I was watching with my dad in my basement. I had the game on, and we were both screaming the entire game, like, "Oh my God, there goes Lawrence! There goes Lawrence!" We were so angry, and then we see it, and I see the blitz Carr, and I'm like, "Oh crap, is he gonna do it?" And I see Carr go out of the pocket, and then I see him launch one, and and they zoom in on Ruggs, and he has the separation, and I just start screaming my lungs out, and I see the catch, and me and my dad are yelling at the top of our lungs, screaming in joy. I'm telling you, I lost my voice for the rest of the day. I was screaming for a solid 2 minutes straight. I was literally, it's a pretty big room the TV's in, and I was just walking back and forth. I was so pumped up after that, because if we lost that, if we won it, there goes Lawrence.
Oh yeah, that game. If we wind up getting the first overall pick, we should all be sending. If Derek Carr or Henry Ruggs has some sort of charity, I would be the one pushing the charitable donation for whatever number cause it is, like they did with the Andy Dalton getting the Bills into the playoffs and all that sort of stuff. I legitimately lost my mind. I don't know if you heard it. I was at the Christmas tree farm, and I'm like literally running around with airplane arms, just so excited. I was like, "Oh my God, we did it! We pulled it off!" It's like you would have thought the Jets just won like a playoff game with how excited I was. Yeah. It's like it's so wonky.
Ruggs also, you can't forget, Ruggs put them in the position to be losing in the first place. So yeah, he was the reason for two turnovers.
He was very underwhelming yesterday overall, aside from that touchdown. I think the touchdown kind of saved the day that would have been, pretty underwhelming for him.
I want to talk about Bill Cowher for a minute because
Sure.
Chris just said, right, that he hasn't coached in a while, but this guy is one of the greatest coaches of all time. People are saying, he's a defensive coach. I don't care if he's a defensive coach. He's literally probably in the top 10 or top 20 greatest coaches of all time. He's a Hall of Famer. If you can get him, you sign him to as much money as you need. Go sell some more baby powder. I'm telling you, this guy will bring us a Super Bowl.
The Bill Cowher argument is so interesting to me because I like Bill Cowher. My only question, the only thing I have to ask, and it's the same thing with Jim Harbaugh, has the game passed him by? And with Harbaugh, I feel like at least he's been coaching in college, so he knows some of the tendencies and some of the players that are coming up through the ranks. And then with Cowher, he hasn't been coaching. It's been 14 years. There's been 2 CBAs signed since he last was a coach. And so that would be, for me, where the concern is. But the guy leads a team. He was such a stable head coach. I want to say it was, 1990 to 2006 for the Steelers. It has been nothing but impressive. And he commands respect. And I think someone coming in here that can demand, a culture change and bring a culture with him. Cowher's one of those guys. Harbaugh's one of those guys. That would be a Parcells type move, in my opinion. I think the win percentage speaks for itself. I think the talent that he has been able to groom over the course of his tenure as a coach speaks for itself. And he's kind of a New York guy too. His wife is a New York Jets fan, so if you happy wife, happy life. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's also a great friend of Joe Douglas, I've heard. So that's also a big thing because if Joe Douglas likes the guy, that means that's great. Right?
Yeah, that's huge. I really hope Douglas is the one pulling the trigger on this next head coach. I don't want to see the Johnsons really involved that much. I mean, if they want to sit in on the conversations and give input, that's fine, but I think Douglas should be the one that is in charge of this entire decision.
Before I get ejected, I just want to say, I saw someone, right? I follow these Jets fan pages on Instagram and stuff. I see these guys, they do like Q&As or whatever. Someone said we should sign Cowher as a defensive coordinator for Matt Campbell. Why would Bill Cowher come back to be a defensive coordinator for a college coach? And then the person, the Jets fan page, had some sense, and he said, while we're at it, why not hire Andy Reid as our offensive coordinator?
That is a great last remark, Eli. Thank you so much for calling in. I would not think Bill Cowher would be coming out of retirement for an offensive or defensive coordinator position. Carson, what's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It's been a wild last 24 hours for our New York Jets. What were you thinking when you saw that final play?
Okay, so really, I don't have a problem with it. The reason, I don't know why Jets fans are so happy, and the reason why I'm saying this is because who cares if we win? And the reason why you're going to think I'm crazy, but let me explain. You compare Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, the 2 top quarterbacks in this draft. You put them side by side. In every college game those 2 have played this year, yeah, there is discrepancies between the 2 because some haven't played as much as the other. But Justin Fields has been the better quarterback, statistically speaking. He has outthrown Lawrence in every single game. He has more touchdowns than Lawrence. And you could argue that Lawrence has had more talent around him than Justin Fields. Now, I'm not saying skill-wise Fields is better than Lawrence. But do you remember back when Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf were head-to-head in the draft? And Leaf was being compared to greats, right? And they said that he was better than Peyton Manning. What was the one discrepancy between the two that separated them? The Wonderlic test. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, going into college, you have to take a Wonderlic test before you do any football activity. Justin Fields scored higher than Trevor Lawrence on the Wonderlic test by almost, I think, 30 points, and it's at 200. Okay, now I'm not saying that's a big deal, but I don't think getting Trevor Lawrence is the end-all, be-all. I would be fine with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields, you could see him as a Cam Newton, Russell Wilson type. He has the ability of Cam. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He has the mobility of Russ, and he's got the stature of Wilson a little bit in a way, the way he's molded. So I would be fine with Fields. It's not Lawrence or bust. I don't think that's that big of a deal. And if we do get Fields, the coach I would want is Martindale from the Ravens. He implements a system in Baltimore that is similar to what they run in Ohio State. So I want to hear what you think about that.
I want to get more comfortable with Fields because as each week kind of passes on and it kind of the tension rises, I feel like the Jets are we're going to jet it up. That's what it is. We're going to screw it up. We're going to not get that first overall pick. So I don't necessarily think it's Trevor Lawrence or bust. I think for me, it's find the right head coach or bust. And for me, getting the first overall pick means getting our top choice in head coach. I think if we get the second pick and the Jaguars have the first pick, I think the Jaguars are in position to get the head coach that they want. And I think as much as Trevor Lawrence is an exciting player, I think the head coach is going to be the one that has to mold everything and really instill the culture and bring the excitement, because that's the head coach initially is going to be what brings in the free agents. So if you know Trevor Lawrence is going to be sitting there at number one, if the Jets own number one, even if they don't go with Trevor Lawrence, if they say, hey, you know what, Justin Fields, for whatever reason, we're going with
Fields
you. Yeah, I'm not upset with that. When you look at their high school rankings too, I think when Trevor Lawrence came out, I want to say he was third of all prospects to ever come out of high school, and I think Fields was like eighth. So they're not even like that far apart.
Right.
You could argue division or conference, I guess, but it's not like Clemson plays in a crazy, division either. I would just like to see. I like what I've seen from Trevor. The guy just wins, and maybe it's just because he's on Clemson, and it's not like maybe he wouldn't be doing this on another team, but he has one loss dating back to high school, and that loss is in the national title game. Like that to me is a winner. So for me, I think if you have the first pick, it's Lawrence hands down. If you get the second pick and it has to be Fields, I'll talk myself into it.
And there's two more things I want to say is that one thing that we need to talk about is scheduling difference. Justin Fields has played two teams, I think 4 games this year or 5 games this year. The 2 out of the 5 games played this year were against AP top 25 teams. Lawrence has not seen a top 25 team this year. So you have to take that into accountability. And one last thing before I get ejected is that if it's not Martindale, I'm banging on the door for Joe Brady. I want Joe Brady so bad. I either want Joe Brady, Lincoln Riley, Eric Bieniemy, or Martindale. One of the 4. But if I had to choose, Joe Brady, hands down, it's not even close.
I like Joe Brady a lot. I think you'd probably have to bring in an experienced defensive coordinator with him. But, dude, thank you so much for calling in. It means a lot that you made the call, and you have been ejected from the cockpit.
You're out of here!
Love that. Love that. Guys, we got about 15 more minutes of call-ins, and then I'll be hanging it up, and we'll be talking tomorrow with the Talkin' Jets panel. Let's see what you guys want to talk about. Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be a big debate. Either way, I want number 1 overall. If it has to be 0-16, I'll take 0-16. I will swallow my pride, even if we have the worst point differential of all time, however it works out. I just want the prize possession. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's right there. It's just, only we can screw it up. Hopefully the Jags win. If the Jags win, it gives us a little bit of breathing space. I don't have to have, my heart pounding nonstop every Sunday, and I could actually root for a win.
Call from
Thomas.
Hey, what's up, Thomas? Welcome to the cockpit. What's on your mind, brother?
I was looking through the college rankings, and there's a realistic way Clemson don't make the playoffs, and that might that was a little weird because it could, in minus some GMs, tank his stock.
Oh yeah, what do you think?
Notre Dame blow them out in the ACC championship game, and fucking Coastal Carolina get in.
Say that again.
There's a world where if Notre Dame kills Clemson in the championship for ACC, Trevor Lawrence falls down in the draft board if they get killed.
See, I think Clemson is definitely going to get into the playoffs. I think losing to Notre Dame, the way they did without Trevor Lawrence, I think that's not
but they
the
can still
norm.
lose them in the ACC championship, and
I don't see it happening. Well, Notre Dame. Are you saying Clemson could lose in the ACC championship, or
yeah, Clemson could lose.
It depends who they're playing. Who would
Notre
be
Dame.
competing?
Notre
Dame's
this year, and
Notre Dame's not in a conference.
This season they are.
Did they put them in? Oh, they did put them in for the ACC. So you think even if
I think he'll still get picked number one.
Oh yeah, look, I think Trevor Lawrence is the top pick. I don't think there's any way.
There's no world he is not the top pick. He's too talented.
Yeah, the only way I could possibly see him not being the top overall pick is if he somehow had a devastating injury, which God forbid, I hope that does not happen. But I would say, based on his resume from the last few years, there's basically nothing that I could see that would tank his draft stock enough to make him not the number one overall pick.
Yeah, we can finally win a game now because the Jaguars drew against Minnesota, so we can finally win a game and still get the first pick.
Well, the Jaguars went into overtime and wound up losing to the Vikings, so we can't win just yet. We need the Jaguars to get one win. If the Jaguars can get a win, that would be absolutely huge for us.
I'm fully invested in this. My dad's fully invested in this tank now. I was using the bathroom upstairs, and when the Raiders play happened, I hear him scream. I have never heard him scream that loud, except when my mom got pregnant with my youngest brother.
Dude, I was so happy when that play happened. I'm so invested in this tank at this point. Like, this whole season has been so rough to watch, and really the last 3 years. Aside from maybe like being excited that we were getting Sam Darnold and having him, that was really the excitement that we had. But last season with Sam getting sick, and then this whole season with everything we're seeing from this season, I am very happy that this is almost done, and hopefully we can just cheer for victories in the not so distant future.
Adam Gase is by far the worst coach, but do you think their players are part of the issue?
Yeah, I think you can't win games without good players. I do think head coach is part of that problem. It's getting your guys in the right position to be successful. I think guys will fight for certain coaches that inspire them. I don't think Adam Gase is necessarily inspiring any of our players at this point in time. And when you're 0-12, it's going to be tough to get that little bit of extra juice. Like, I think if you're playing on a playoff team, if you're playing on the Seahawks, you're probably going to give a little bit more effort, or you're probably going to fight through an injury, more than you would if you were on a team like the Jets.
Yeah, and my final thing about the head coach position is the Jets, Trevor Lawrence, they have a bright future, sure, but like, the rest of the team is also not that good. I don't know if we're going to be able to get like a good coach. Like, we'll still get a solid one, but I don't think we can get, the coaches that could really make it, because it's a big risk. Because
Look,
Trevor,
That's it.
I
You're
think he's
out of
going
here.
to. And I'm sorry, you have been ejected from the cockpit. I ran out of time. Sorry, but no, I think the Jets will be able to get an attractive head coach, but they need to make the right hire. They can't screw this up the way they screwed up Adam Gase. That head coaching hire from the first press conference was, atrocious. We have been upset with that for the last 2 years. And
Call
hopefully
from
they get it right this year.
Fernando.
Hey, dude, welcome to the cockpit.
Hello.
What's on your mind, brother?
I was thinking of something. Basically, over the weekend, I guess I was watching First Take and Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless. They were talking about how they were pretty much agreeing with you that Trevor Lawrence is coming out. I guess they were discussing how Trevor Lawrence cannot play for the Jets. The idea was that if there could be a historically great franchise that's at the bottom in the rankings, maybe he can force his way there. And I guess because Skip Bayless is a Cowboys fan, I think the Cowboys are like number 4, something like that. So if there is a historically good team that's close enough in the rankings, then something like that could happen. What's your opinion of that? Do you think that's something us Jets fans should worry about?
I think it's something to be cognizant of. I don't know if I see the Jets trading with Dallas. They're sitting at number 5 right now, so it kind of depends how their next few games go. I think they're going to be a pretty bottom of the barrel team. They would have to give up a lot. And then who do you take if you're the Jets from the Cowboys to facilitate that trade? Is it just draft picks? Because that team could be pretty good. I don't think you want to take potentially late first-round picks. I think if the Jets have the first overall pick, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to play for the Jets. I don't think there's any team that looks as attractive as us. We have a ton of cap space, a ton of draft picks. We're going to have the new head coach, Denzel Mims. The left tackle in Becton looks legit. I think if you're a potential franchise quarterback coming out, one of your biggest things is, hey, who's protecting my blind side? If you have potentially the next generational talent, sitting there with the Jets, I think I'd be hard-pressed to I would be excited to come to New York.
Definitely. That definitely makes sense. And, full disclosure, I'm not very well versed in football. I'm actually I'm just starting to get into the sport the last few years. And I guess there are a lot of things that I don't know and whatnot. So, I don't.
Sure.
But I'm thinking of something. Basically, I know we drafted a quarterback in I believe the 4th round or something. So
sure.
I think our next 3 games versus the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Browns, I have a pretty good feeling we will lose all of them. But that last game, it really scares me. So I'm wondering, as a general manager, can Drew Douglas basically order the coach to, play the rookie quarterback and, these guys that we're just evaluating him. Like, is that something that can be done? Because I'm really afraid Sam Darnold or Joe Flacco might just win this game against the Patriots.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm afraid of the Patriot game for sure. I think if there's one team that could throw a game out of spite, it's the Patriots. I don't think we're gonna see the rookie Morgan play quarterback this year unless something happens to Flacco and Sam. Like I think even if Sam goes down with another injury, I think they would rather put Flacco in for the one game than have Morgan go in, which I don't really agree with at this point in the season. I'd rather see Morgan. I want to see Sam. If Sam's healthy, he's got to be the quarterback. You want to hope that his trade value goes up in some capacity. I don't think we see Morgan at all this year. I have to ask, if you're just getting into football, what made you choose the Jets?
Well, the thing is, I'm a big soccer guy. I never really watched American football, but I have friends that did, and they were always basically talking crap about the Jets and whatnot. I believe around the 2010s, and the Jets, they made 2 runs to the playoff, almost made it to the Super Bowl. So, it was very natural for me. I live in New Jersey, so it was very natural for me to, root for them simply because they this underdog team that everyone, have been trashing. So that's how, when they lost these AFC championship games, I was disappointed. And then I did not even watch for a few years. I only watched those ones simply because I really wanted them to get there, not because, I was a fan or anything. I just wanted an underdog team to play well. But then I fast forward 2014, I went to college. I believe my sophomore year in 2016, again, they almost made the playoff. So I started watching again. I just wanted them to win simply because I'm tired of people bashing them. But since that year when we almost made the playoff with Fitzpatrick, we had that last game, I believe it was against who was it? I don't remember, but the Steelers got the spot, and it was crushing. Not being able to go to the playoffs.
That's it.
Oh,
You're
dude,
out of
thank
here.
you so much for calling in. And you have been ejected from the cockpit. New football fan, Jets fan, I feel bad for you, but I'm glad you're here. Misery loves company. All right, guys, this will probably be the last phone call. Guys, drop a like on this video if you haven't already. We're up to 78 likes. I want to see that get over
Call
100.
from
Elias.
Hey, what's up, brother? Welcome to the cockpit.
What's going on, Ryan? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm trying to hang in there. What's on your mind?
So first of all, I was really confused watching your stream earlier because it kept saying that it was live and then wasn't live. Turns out my speed was down at 75%. But anyways, if we get Trevor Lawrence and he wins us a Super Bowl, we got to do what the Eagles did. We got to build a statue of the Three Stooges, Gase, Loggins, and especially Greg Williams. Because, man, I was freaking out about, potentially winning. When the Raiders had that drop, I took a video of that and was pissed, obviously. But, of course, my phone was ahead of the broadcast I was watching, so I got the touchdown spoiled. But when I saw that notification, but when I saw the notification, I was like, and I still was hyped when I saw it, because it didn't say anything about, a zero blitz or something hilarious like that. And I was starting Ruggs that day on fantasy because I was like, man, our cornerback sucks, so he has a chance. So he was at like 2 points. He had like a 30-yard catch, so he got like 3, then fumbled, then I lost 10 points. I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And then he did that, so he went up to 13. And also another great part was I was listening to another Jet YouTuber. You should have him on if you want. Long Beach Joe, good Jets YouTuber. He's the complete opposite
I like
of
Long
all
Beach
of us,
Joe.
Yeah,
I've seen him a few times. I watch a little bit of his stuff. I got to reach out to him.
Yeah, he's the opposite of us. He wants to win. He wants to trade back. So seeing his rage was just hilarious. But yeah,
I'll have to check it out because I haven't seen too many people that were like, "Oh, I'm so upset that we didn't win." I know now, like on Facebook and like the comment section, I've seen a few people that were like, "You got to be kidding me! We're so incompetent." And I'm like, "No, this is a good thing. Like we lucked into this. Like Greg Williams is
time.
tank master general. There should be a statue of Greg Williams built outside MetLife if the Jets end up with Lawrence and it winds up hitting."
Well, hopefully that it's not MetLife. Hopefully it's a different stadium because that piece of crap.
Fingers
but anyways.
crossed.
But anyways, yeah, I saw him at the channel you were on earlier, Jets Media. Him and his buddy, there was like that's like basically the two reactions: the hyped up one, and then I don't know if his friend was sad about it or he was just shocked. But anyway,
dude,
it was funny.
It was a great reaction. I watched it probably 2 or 3 times now. Just like I laugh every time I see it.
The best part is, so I live up in Rochester, upstate New York, like an hour from Buffalo. So I had nonstop Bills fans just texting me. They're like, "Yo, thanks for winning this game, buddy. Hey, thanks for not getting Trevor Lawrence." So when they won that, I was like, "Hey, so what were you guys talking about again?" So
man, that's so nice. I was working at a Christmas tree farm, and the service there is like spotty on and off, so I wasn't really answering any text messages or calls or anything like that. And I had like probably close to like 80 text messages. By the time I was like getting home, I was like, oh man, everyone's talking about this game. This has been nothing short of fantastic. I was in such a good mood. I was like, when I thought we were losing or when I thought we were going to win, which is so odd, it feels more like a win.
I never
because
want
we
to
lost.
root for a tank year ever again. This is the one year, because you got the generation quarterback. So I don't want to be rooting for losses again. But man, that it felt great though.
It was nothing short of amazing. Now, what did you think of the players like in the game? What was your what What were the positives of the game?
So for me, I want to roll with these two running backs we got going forward. When P. Ryan went on IR, Bell got hurt. I'm like, dude, stop with the score crap. Let's get these dudes. Let's see if we have something, because scores 77. So he's not going to last much longer. But no, I'm a firm believer the way the NFL is going is platoon running back. So I wouldn't take a running back any higher than the 3rd round, but you kind of keep one of those two guys. You have your speed back. You got P. Ryan, and I saw O'Leary's video bringing a guy like Jamal Williams, like a cheap number 2 back. Have our RB by committee. I was really happy about that. Quinnen's still balling out. Becton was a bit disappointing, but he's good. He's great. But and then it sucks. Sam's best game, he turned the ball over 3 times. So I don't know how you can really, if Trevor Lawrence is on the clock. I don't know how, unless the Jaguars trade you 10 first-round picks. I don't know how you can say no. But
yeah. Honestly, the only position I would like to trade back to would be 2 with the Jaguars. Get multiple first-round picks from them, and then take Trevor Lawrence or take Justin Fields. But I'm sitting at 1. I'm taking Trevor Lawrence. That's my pick.
Oh yeah,
dude. Thank you so much for calling in. Boom! You have been ejected from the cockpit. All right, boys. That is going to be the end of our show. It has been a lot of fun talking with you guys. I'll be live tomorrow with O'Leary and Green Bean, and we'll be talking all this Jets news between the Ruggs catch, the Greg Williams firing, the everything going on, Bill Cowher rumors, all that good sort of stuff. But guys, my name's Ryan. I've been your pilot tonight. I apologize for the technical difficulties early in the stream. We straightened it all out. Guys, it's been real fun. And I hope you guys are going to be back here tomorrow. My name's Ryan. This is Jets Talk, signing off. J-E-T-S.